You know what they say. Third time's the charm. Hello, beautiful. Stormbringer by Michael Moorcock. Moorcock is a 1965 fantasy novel. I guess you would call this a high fantasy novel, where the power of the magic is over the top. Now, I'm not entirely sure what I read, and if I totally understood, it wouldn't. I wouldn't have understood it in the part of the way of the subconscious for what it really is, which is something from the source of the inspiration. I don't want to think too much on, because it will ruin the theatrical appeal in my mind. In that sense, um, it I can't help it though, because I'm too curious about the origin of what moves and inspires an author, which I think about while I'm reading books. Which in this sense, it does make. Once again, I don't like this repeating theme. Maybe it's destiny. Maybe it's destiny. Of this that I see keep repeating in my review videos from different books, which is that I keep being perplexed at how in fantasy literature an author can conceive of something that doesn't exist so well that it feels like it does. And I know that sounds stupid, but excuse me a second. Um, but the weird thing about this is why what I mean by that. What I mean by that is that this story is only 187 pages long, and there's a lot going on in this universe, in this world, in this place that it's hard to describe. I am just like stuttering and just ruining this shit review video that I'm doing right now, um, I, because I don't know how. I just don't know how to describe it. Like, how can you get people to envision a sort of breaking of other dimensions that are just supposed to be real and just a line or a few words, and just have it invade the world and destroy the world and destroy and disrupt reality, but yet it elicits like acid trip, LSD type visions that are at the same time not moving so fast that you can't see it in 4K quality in your mind. Like, that is the genuine magic of this that led me to suspect a great deal that um, there was probably some serious spiritual mojo involved in the inspiration and the subconscious inspiration for of the author. So a work of the occult, maybe, in spirit. I don't know. So Stormbringer is a sword, that sword right there, a big black bastard of a sword, and essentially, this book is debatable of exactly what it means. So much is vague. In other words, it's such weird fiction. It's like a fever dream of another universe, but told with such daring boldness, and that if you isolate any one component of the storytelling, it might seem ludicrous, but altogether such high fantasy that it's indisputable in the fact that it happened because it happened in your mind, and it moves at a pace in which nothing is really questioned and not a whole lot is fleshed out or explained at the same time, and I dig it. Surprisingly caught me off guard how lucid that made the overall trip. Now, what that story, what if my, so I can't exactly say entirely what it was really about or what anything particularly means, but my best guess will be that it's really about the existential omnipresence of energy and our petty mortal understanding of whatever it is that's evil, having a much more morally gray morally gray dynamics than we could ever understand, and is far older, far more powerful, and has so much more to do with the shaping and the fate and the unmaking or the making or both of the universe. And to align yourself with that requires, for Elric, our main character, it requires a sort of inhumanity that is really badass if you're able to sort of look at it like a movie, like something for your entertainment that you don't necessarily attach yourself too much to, and you wouldn't want to, because Elric in and of himself is a level of power and a level of understanding of power that is, dangerous for a human to try to even think about emulating or contemplating, because without any spoilers, he is more or less a pawn of destiny, and controlled largely by evil that he himself, it doesn't really seem, understands. And, or maybe does, but probably not completely. So it's just viewing Elric doing things in your mind that are so out of this world, that feels eerily familiar, as if it was from some sort of past life, that it's really all about power and seeing shit go down. Awesome shit. I don't know how to explain it. So another thing I want to say, the dialogue, the narration, it was just so cool. It was just a level of weirdness that I can't help but just deeply admire for being so... No, you don't. No, you don't. This is my video, and you're not going to interrupt it. It's okay. It's okay. All right. The power. I see the power. Okay. So it's a power that more or less controls the character, but serves some larger existential purpose that's just totally out of this world, that really opens up the mind to possibilities and doesn't have any actual answers, and likely the author doesn't either. And if he did, maybe it wouldn't be Michael Moorcock. But this is my first Michael Moorcock novel. I had such a unique experience reading this. It was unlike anything I've ever read in the way of fantasy before, because the level of magic in the story was just so conceived differently, in the way it comes off, in the way, just good choices in writing with such, like simple, direct, bold language that truly feels badass and epic. It elicits these larger than life scenes in your mind that really just like looking at an abstract painting while tripping on acid, but at the same time having a narrative with an emotional, not the most emotional, but enough emotional in motivations to elicit an even powerful feeling from the visuals in your mind. So I went out and I bought a big, huge book of Elric. I think the first 4 or 5 Elric stories all put together in one volume, and I'm going to probably read them all in the future. So can't wait to read those. But yeah, this is a very unique experience. It's I give it um, a 9 out of 10 for just being so different and so out of this world, and giving me something to think about, and looking at evil differently, looking at evil as having gray areas that are more or less in some ways ever changing, but at the same time, in one sense, kind of omnipresent, and having, a lot to do with not existential, with creationism, and having more or less a paradoxical purpose. I don't know how to fully go into detail and explain entirely how I came to that conclusion. Sometimes it's more felt than it is logically processed, just like the way you're able to conceive of something that you've never had any experience with before with a few words, which is truly supernatural in and of itself and bizarre, that just may or may not exist, like certain monsters, spirits, magical anomalies. And so, yeah, it was definitely a trip, and I definitely don't know how to describe it. So, Stormbringer by Michael Moorcock, epic, high fantasy, apocalyptic insanity of seeing power without any boundaries get out of control, and subverting typical perceptions of good and evil in the fantasy genre, to like open your mind to the intricacies of existential threats. Definitely recommend for fantasy fans. Can't wait to read more Michael Moorcock.